Chapter 14. I stayed in the cabin a long time by myself. Then me and Joe Pittman started seeing each other. Joe Pittman had been married, but his wife was dead and left him with 2 children and 2 girls. We had known each other a long time before Ned left for Kansas, but we never looked at each other like we were interested. I had 2 reasons. Ned was by himself in this world except for me, and I didn't want no man and no children spitting him just because he was an orphan. The other reason I never looked at a man was because I was barren. The old lady on the place that I went to had told me that, and I told her how my body acted and didn't act. After we sat down and talked for a while, she said one word: barren. I went to a doctor and he told me the same thing. You barren, alright. He told me it had happened when I was nothing but a tot, since I had got hit or whipped in a way that hurt me inside. She said this might be one reason I didn't grow too much either. She asked me how my appetite was. I said appetite. My appetite was good as anybody else's appetite. He said, you alright? Go on back home. When Joe Pittman asked me to be his wife, I told him I wanted to think about it a while because I didn't want to tell him I was barren. I like him now, and I was scared if I told him I was barren, he would leave for me for somebody else. He asked me again, and I told him I wanted to think some more. He kept on asking me, and that's when I told him. When we were sitting in the house that day eating, that's when I told him. I told him if he didn't want me no more, that it was alright. I understand. But all he says was, ain't we all hurt by slavery? If you just say you'll help me raise my 2 girls, I'll be satisfied. He was a real man. Joe Pittman was. We didn't get married. I didn't believe in church then, and Joe did. We agreed slaves didn't get married in churches. They jump over the bathroom handle. Old mistress and young mistress held the broom handle up off the floor. An old master told the slaves to hold hands and jump over. If there were old people, old mister and young missus would hold the broom down low, and old couples would step over sprightly. Old masters would say, step sprightly there, Jubal. Step sprightly there, Miss Might. They would step sprightly, and they was pronounced husband and wife. Me and Joe Pittman didn't think we needed the broom. We weren't slaves no more. Why would we just live together as long as we wanted? That's all. Not long after we started living together, Joe Pittman told me he wanted to leave Cornell Dice Plantation. Joe was sharp with horses, and he was sure he could find a place where he could get more money and better treatment than he was getting here. I told him if he wanted to leave, I would go with him, but I didn't want to leave till I heard from Ned. It was almost a year, and I haven't gotten a word from Ned. I didn't want him to come back and I wasn't here or write him a letter back. Joe said he would wait till I heard, but at the same time he looked around till I heard. But every chance we got, he was looking out. If he heard a place, no matter how far it was, he could get there and get back. He had to go in the field, went and checked it out. Ned wrote a month after, but I didn't get a letter over a year. He wrote the letter to somebody he met in New Orleans just before he got in the boat for Kansas. He didn't want to send me a letter recently to me because the people here would have been suspicious. Anything that Kansas or the North on it might. It been torn up and thrown away. He sent the letter to his friends, and his friends was supposed to send it to the preacher and the planner. And the preacher was supposed to send it to me. Instead of the friend sending the letter onto the preacher he was supposed to do, he put the letter somewhere and forgot it. When he found it again, he could hardly read the address. He had touched it with Ned in Kansas again. Ned was in Leavenworth, and he wrote for the letter, but now he had gone to a place called Acton. It was a year before he got straightened out. The letter told people how he was coming into Kansas. It was a year before everything got straightened out. The letter told people he was coming into Kansas by the boatload. At first, the white people in Kansas was helping them out. How they collect money to give to them, how they organize communities to go to Washington, places like that for money and clothes, money and food. Even across the sea, they got money and clothes. The first people was almost too nice, but the first letter, when I got to the second letter, things had changed. The white people couldn't help all of them, and there wasn't any work for them to do. Now the white people didn't want him in town. Ned was the only committed that found new places and for people to live. He traveled by the boat and up down the river. No matter where he was, there was already too many people. His coming sent him where there to south. to other people to come back to one place. There was other states where they could go and find comfort, but the people had heard of Kansas first, like sheep. They had to go where everywhere had gone. Now the riddles where they left trees and papers didn't let them out.